event of terminal illness. And 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 6797 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gaurie Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
Hello and welcome to India Global. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. This is the show that gets you all the stories that matter to the global Indian. As always, we start with the headlines coming in. First up, Indian Army gets Apache choppers after a 15-month delay. Indian Army gets world's #1 attack helicopter from the US. New immigration rules take effect in the UK. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer toughens visa rules amidst backlash. UK raises the skill and salary threshold for key visas. Bangladesh Air Force jet crash. Death toll rises to 27. It's a Chinese-made jet that crashed into the Dhaka school that has injured 171 people. The jet experienced mechanical fault soon after takeoff. Yet another effort for mediation and peace talks amidst the Russia-Ukraine war that rages on after 3 years. The two sides are set to hold third round of talks in Istanbul in the next 24 hours. Next level of prisoner exchanges likely to happen. And one of India's foremost economic voices in the world, Gita Gopinath, steps down after a 7-year term at the IMF, where she was first the chief economist and then the first deputy managing director. She's set to rejoin Harvard. All right, viewers, our top story on the show. After a delay of over 15 months, the Indian Army is finally received the first batch of Apache helicopters. These are top-of-the-line attack helicopters that mark a significant step towards bolstering India's combat capabilities along the western border in the wake of Operation Sindoor. The Indian Army has signed a $600 million deal with the US in 2020 for 6 Apache attack helicopters, with the delivery initially expected to take place last year around May. 15 months later, that has finally happened. Now, how will this bolster India's combat capabilities? How significant Apache's inductions are in the Indian Army's strength and capabilities? Let's get in my colleague Shiv Arur, managing editor of NDTV, to decode that for us. Shiv, walk us through the significance of these helicopters now being part of the Indian Army's capabilities and how it's going to bolster the Indian Army's capabilities.
Well, these are top-of-the-line helicopters. It is no exaggeration to say that the AH-64E Apache, this is the most advanced version of the iconic legacy Apache helicopter, is easily the most feared, formidable and armed combat helicopter in the world and ever built. It has a vast amount of experience in actual combat. This is basically a tank in the air. This is a rotorcraft that is armed to the teeth. It has rockets, it has a chain gun, it has precision-guided weapons like the AGM-114 Hellfire, which is a medium-range missile that is capable of destroying tanks and other reinforced targets on the ground. But the most amazing thing about the Apache and what makes it so feared is its longbow radar system, its fire control and radar system, which allows it to target targets from behind a hill, from beyond the horizon, which is why targets don't even see this helicopter coming and then feel its terrible effects. Now, this particular helicopter is going to be based in Jodhpur in Rajasthan, not very far from the Pakistan border, where these helicopters will conduct combat air patrol missions not very far from the border that separates India and Pakistan. And like I said, when these helicopters are in the air, anything on the ground is pretty much on notice, whether it is bunkers, whether it is vehicles, troop movements, trucks, and especially armored vehicles like tanks, making this a helicopter something to obviously stay very, very clear of. These 3 helicopters that have landed are an order for 6, like you rightly said, but they are not the first Apaches to arrive in India. The Indian Air Force operates 22 of these helicopters already. They're based in Jorhat in Assam and in Pathankot in Punjab, taking care of the Pakistan sectors and the China sectors. So very welcome to add more numbers after Operation Sindoor.
All right, we leave it there. Thanks much, Shiv, for decoding that and explaining that to our viewers in that in-depth way. All right, viewers, turning attention now to the other big story that we are tracking. Well, amid Keir Starmer facing backlash over his what many term as lax immigration policies, with Nigel Farage of Reform UK grilling the UK Prime Minister on the floor of the House. There's now new immigration rules that have taken effect in the country. Now, this is a significant shake-up that's increasing both skill and salary thresholds for key visas for Indians. It's part of Downing Street's plans to build an immigration system that supports economic growth while drastically, in fact, reducing reliance on overseas labor. And let me, in fact, viewers, walk you through what is it that has really changed and what are the kind of impact that one is going to see in terms of the new rules that have actually come in. Let's put that out for you, viewers. First and foremost, it's the skill threshold that has now been raised to graduate level. And what that means is a lot of lower skilled workers, a lot of lower skilled areas are now not going to be part of the immigration threshold that was till now there. Let's move ahead and tell you what is the skilled worker visa all about and how is it that the salary threshold has raised. Now, what happens when salary threshold goes up? It automatically means you're not talking about very junior or entry level work. You're talking about something that is more higher end, which is where you need people with more education background, which is why you see the salary going up. The current visa holders also must meet these salary thresholds, which means that if you're earning this much amount of money, then you're eligible for the visa and not after that. Now, Indians, remember, were the largest group of immigrants to the UK in 2023, as per the Office for National Statistics, and with approximately 250,000 arriving mainly for work and educational opportunities, this has a huge impact. Let's move ahead and tell you that when, the next plan is for the care worker visa. Care worker visa essentially are those who are going to be operating in the healthcare sector, where they will now end UK worker immigration route. So no foreigners will now be part of the care worker immigration visa network. No more overseas recruitment will take place there. Let's tell you more in terms of what next. There also, the salary threshold remains the same, but the fact is it's now not open to overseas workers. Now, that is the care. So there are two categories, the care visa and the skilled visa, where you've seen massive changes that have taken place. And then there is the limited access to below degree level occupations. That's the other thing that needs to be kept in mind, that these are the massive changes that have also been brought about. Let's quickly now tell you, viewers, what are the big questions that we are asking, and then we're going to get in Pratik Dattani as well on this. First and foremost, when you talk about the big questions, how will it actually impact Indian students? What's the kind of impact that this will have on Indian students? Because as I said, there's they form a very large chunk of overseas students that come to the UK. The second big question, Starmer under pressure from Nigel Farage's rising power. Essentially, there is a rising right sentiment in the UK, and that has had a huge impact in terms of how immigration is being viewed And is that the reason why Keir Starmer is coming up with these massive changes? Now, what does ban on care workers actually mean for India? As I said, there's a very large chunk of these categories that are served by Indians who go there through legit routes. How much will the impact be on them? Are Indian students caught in the political crossfire between Nigel Farage taking on Keir Starmer? And will Starmer, the final question, actually be able to stop the boats? Now, something that many have been asking. Rishi Sunak was asked this question. Keir Starmer is being asked this question. Will that actually happen? Let's get in Pratik Dattani, who's the founder of Bridge India, joining us on the broadcast. So thanks so much for speaking to NDTV, joining us from London. Let me start by asking you the impact that these changes in the visa norms are going to have on Indians, on Indian students, Indian care workers who are looking to be in the UK on legit routes. Unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a complete reset of the immigration system in the UK. It's the biggest set of changes for several decades. There are 140,000 Indian students in the UK right now. The bad news is that currently Indian students have 2 years after their study to not require another visa, and it's only after 2 years that they need to migrate to a worker visa. The vast majority of these 140,000 will not be able to stay in the UK after those 2 years because there simply won't be the jobs. And why won't there be the jobs? Because to hire somebody from India, like you pointed out earlier, will cost a minimum of £41,700, which is about 43 lakhs or 42.5 lakhs, plus the legal fees and the certificate of sponsorship fees on top, which means hiring an Indian will be significantly more expensive than hiring a Brit for exactly the same job. So that's something Indian students do have to bear in mind, whether they're already
Dattani,
here
that's a deal breaker.
planning.
That itself is a deal breaker for many.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're spending 20, 30, 40,000 pounds on student fees coming here every year, and then you aren't guaranteed a job at the end of it, it's a difficult proposition. But the way the UK sees it is actually for Indian students, Australia, Canada, the US are all shutting up shop. So the UK, in relative terms, is still incredibly attractive as an education market.
What about care workers? How much do you think will be the impact there? Because that route is now effectively being shut.
Yeah, and there's two main reasons for this. If you earn £25,000, typically care workers are older. Students don't have dependents, care workers have dependents. If you're bringing in your family as well, then realistically on £25,000, the government has said that you cannot pay for husband, wife, kids also in the UK. It's just simply too low a salary. And therefore, a lot of care workers don't live in the best conditions. They're very at the very bottom of the income scale. But there has been a real problem of fake documents and Indians in particular coming on care worker visas to the UK by coming to what you call fake jobs. They get the visa and then it turns out there's no jobs here in whoever's hired them. So that has been a huge concern because a lot of Indians then end up working cash in hand jobs. It's not their fault. They didn't know this was happening before they got to the UK. And this is a way of combating it.
Mr. Dattani, finally, I want to ask you this, that there's a very large number of international students who actually come from India to the UK every year. They also fund the large university economy as well. How do you now want to, if at all any advice you were to give to them in the wake of these massive visa changes, what would that be?
I think that the biggest advice would be think about employability when you choose your courses. If you come here and do an engineering or a computer science or AI course, then earning £41,700 afterwards is not an issue. If you come here for arts, liberal arts, social sciences courses, then it's highly unlikely that there will be 140,000 jobs waiting at the end of the year earning that level. So if you think about employability, the UK is just as attractive as it has ever been.
I'm going to leave it there. Mr. Dattani, thanks much for speaking to us. It's quite early right now in London. Thanks much for taking out the time and speaking to us. Turning attention now to another big diaspora voice, that is Gita Gopinath, who's now set to step down from the IMF. Gita Gopinath was the #2 official at the International Monetary Fund. where she spent 7 long years. Earlier, she was the chief economist, and then she rose to be the number 2 there. She will leave her post at the end of August to return back to her alma mater, which is Harvard. IMF Managing Director Christina Georgieva will name a successor to Gita Gopinath in due course of time, is what the IMF has said. Remember, Gita Gopinath is one of the foremost voices on global economics and macroeconomics around the world, and she was at the helm in IMF for 7 long years through very choppy times for the world economy, which also included COVID and post-COVID recovery. All right, turning attention now to the other story that we are tracking on the show. Well, this is regarding Bangladesh, where a deadly crash has unfolded. It was a Chinese-made Bangladesh Air Force jet, viewers, that crashed into a college in the capital city of Dhaka on Monday. Now, the death toll has actually risen to 27 people so far. Most of them are children because the crash took place at a school. Now, as per officials, in the country's deadliest air incident in recent history, the F-35B aircraft was a training fighter jet manufactured in China, experienced a mechanical fault moments after it took off and crashed into the 2-story building of Milestone School and College, which injured 171 people, mostly students. And the government has, in fact, declared a state of mourning today in memory of those affected by the crash. A high-level investigation committee has been formed to determine the cause of this deadly attack. All right. Well, after more than 5 weeks, the British Royal Navy's F-35B fighter jet, which had been stranded in Kerala after making an emergency landing, has finally flown out of the Thiruvananthapuram airport this morning. Viewers, the stealth jet had been grounded in Kerala due to a hydraulic fault that took an expert team from the UK to repair. The 5th generation stealth fighter is part of the UK's HMS Prince of Wales Carrier Strike Group, which had been and has been operating in the Indo-Pacific and recently finished joint maritime exercises with the Indian Navy. And 35 days later, finally, the aircraft and the fighter jet is flying off. All right, viewers, on that note, a quick break. We return on the other side of India Global with more stories, including the latest as far as the Russia-Ukraine peace talks is concerned. Will it be third time lucky? Well, we'll talk on that after this break.
This is so wild that I actually, from a dream, started a business. I don't think I could ever work for anyone else ever again.
It's funny that with unexpected bills, like your car breaking down, a dude on a white horse never comes to save you.
You can't park there, mate.
And your kid's wizard obsession doesn't work on broken boilers.
This is where Lending Stream come in. Short-term loans from £50 to £1,500.
Apply online, 6 months to pay it back. Take back control with a short-term loan from lendingstream.co.uk. Representative APR 1,271%.
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money...
Am I going to lose my job?
Getting on with life.
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
Or just need someone to listen.
How do I tell them?
Our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 1000.
Sometimes it's the little things that remind us of them. Stay close, even when you're far apart. Send money worldwide with Remitly.
How long's it been then? We met about 8 years back. What? Yeah, serious relationship.
He has this way of looking into my eyes.
Knows how to treat me. Gentle, considerate.
Did I tell you he owns his own business?
I think he's going to pop the question.
Better or worse?
Better.
Our opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
Apparently, you seem half the town.
Book an appointment today.
All right, viewers, the other big story that we are now focusing on India Global, the Russia-Ukraine war. It's been waging on for over 3 years now, but there is expectation that third round of peace talks may lead to a possible and a potential breakthrough. Now, the two sides will hold another round of peace talks in Istanbul on Wednesday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the same, and Zelensky proposed fresh talks at the weekend, days after US President Donald Trump threatened Russia with severe sanctions if there was no ceasefire between Moscow and Kiev within 50 days. Now remember, there's been 2 talks earlier. It has led to some sort of prisoner exchanges, but no major breakthrough in terms of where do they see this war ending has been achieved so far. Will that happen the third time around? We're going to discuss that in greater detail, but I want to first play out this soundbite of Ukrainian President Zelensky. We come back and discuss this in detail.
Сьогодні я обговорив з Рустемом Умєровим підготовку обміну та ще однієї зустрічі в Туреччині з російською стороною. Умєров доповів, що зустріч планується на середу. Завтра буде більше деталей.
All right, the reason why so far the war hasn't ended is because the two sides have a very differing version of how they want to actually end this, which is why those big questions are so important right now. First and foremost, the Trump truce deadline is pushing the breakthrough in talks right now, the third set of talks that are set to take place. Will Trump impose sanctions on Russia? This has been a big flip-flop from the president's side. Earlier he said he doesn't want to impose, then he said he wants to because he's frustrated with the fact that the Russian president is leading to absolutely no possibility of some peace talks to happen. The third question that we're asking is, will renewed offensive actually stall talks? Remember, there's been a fresh offensive from the Russian side, and will that come in the way of peace talks leading to some sort of a breakthrough? And lastly, when will Putin come to the negotiating table? Those are the big questions. Let's get in Ali Dirios, who's joining us live from Turkey to talk on this. He's the associate professor at Tob University in Ankara. So thanks much for speaking to us on India Global. Let me start by asking you, there are tempered expectations in terms of the third round of talks that will take place, simply because the first 2 did not yield anything substantial. How do you see these talks in the third round, and what are your expectations in terms of possible breakthroughs that could be achieved?
Well, thank you for having me, and I wish you all a good day. And well, these are actually not just the third talks, these are the third round of talks of this year, shall we say. There were initial talks back in 2022, which resulted with the concrete grain corridor deal, which allowed a lot of the grain, these critical food security connectivity to be assured through Turkey back in 2022, in spite of the war going on between Russia and Ukraine. And we have to remember, our viewers have to remember that in 2022, actually, there were other rounds of talks between Russia and Ukraine.
No,
directly.
I'm talking about this year, sir. Yes, 2022
Yes.
talks happened, nothing came out of it. 3 years have passed since then. This year,
Yes,
now,
3 years
these
have
round of
passed.
talks.
Now, these talks, the reason I went back to 2022, these talks are painfully slow. I mean, diplomacy takes time. And I do not expect a big breakthrough, but there are great efforts on behalf of diplomats in Turkey, in the United States, and also in Russia and Ukraine to try to reach a deal. And as you mentioned, there are different perspectives as to why this war, or the special operation, as the Russians call it, began. And what are the acceptable terms for a permanent ceasefire and eventually a peace treaty. I do not expect a huge breakthrough because these things take time, but it's very important that there is an ongoing process. And that process, even though it seems very little results with prisoner exchanges, these are still concrete results that should not be undermined.
Okay.
And eventually, with these the continuation of these talks, there is hope for a renewed permanent peace.
Okay, there's always
deal.
hope,
But of course, there's no guarantee.
Of course, there is no guarantee, and even as hopes are concerned, again, the reason why I said they're tempered is because the Russian president said that there's still a very vast difference between what he or what the Russian side imagines the deal to actually happen and what the Ukrainian side thinks should be the way for this war to end. In the backdrop of that, what do you think could be the best outcome in terms of the third round of talks that will take place tomorrow in Istanbul?
The best outcome would be actually, in my opinion, to have an agreement to continue these rounds. But what has to happen is, I would say, Russia has to be strongly convinced, not just through threats, but also through incentives. Now, countries, for example, Turkey, in spite of being a NATO member, Turkey is a full NATO member, has been very successful in dealing both with Ukraine and Russia at the same time, and trading and continuing to have engagement, trade and policy with both at the same time. Now, this was not the case with the European Union. Now, strongly convinced means the United States especially has to be, and especially President Trump, who is now running out of temper, as we can understand, he has to put something more concrete, more convincing.
I was coming to just that, sir, and I'm running out of time, so a short answer, please, which is that what is now left in terms of leverage? Donald Trump has said that he's going to put sanctions. Donald Trump has said that he's frustrated. There are also efforts to back Ukraine with Patriot missiles. So what else is the leverage that America now has?
I think that what is not being mentioned is actually the incentives. And that's another, what are the carrots? They're always mentioning the sticks, but to be very bluntly, none of the carrots, none of the incentives, none of the positives that the United States and Russia, let's say, could cooperate on technology or on other fields is being mentioned publicly. I'm sure these are being discussed behind closed doors, but these are some of the incentives that can and will probably happen, because in diplomacy, you cannot only show the stick. You have to show a combination of carrots, of incentives, and sticks.
All right, let's see whether that carrot and stick approach actually works. It's been over 3.5 years. Mr. Ali Dirios, we leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us from Ankara on that story. Well, viewers, with that, it's a wrap on the show. And thanks so much for watching. As we wrap things up, well, there are several areas that we continue to do a complete deep dive on. The latest being the Russia-Ukraine war, but NDTV will continue to get you the latest. With that, it's a time out on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
I'm so grateful. Without your help, we couldn't have got through the past year. So it's important to say a proper thank you. It happened so fast. We thought he had a bug, but it was meningitis. He was critically ill, fading fast, and we faced a daunting 3-hour journey to reach specialist help. But your critical care children's ambulance got him there safely. His mum and dad stayed with him every day, and your accommodation kept them together. You helped them through the worst of times. It's a miracle, but he survived, thanks to our amazing NHS and life-saving support from NHS charities. And that's why I'm writing a forever thank you into my will.
Search Forever Thank You to find out how to write a gift into your will to an NHS charity to help them support the NHS to do more for patients, staff and communities for years to come.
Oh, don't put yourself through this! You should be enjoying 2-for-1 cinema tickets every Tuesday or Wednesday with Compare the Market. Simples.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandchild arrives, and after having a few repairs myself, I need to make sure they'll all be protected. Which reminds me, there's more than one way to help protect my family.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance. How can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
You've come to the right place. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee, with 100% of claims having been paid, We guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
Wow, that's great to hear.
Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000. And the cover is in place for your whole life.
And what's the application like?
It couldn't be easier to apply. If you're a UK resident aged 50 to 80, you're guaranteed to be accepted and you can arrange everything in a matter of minutes. There are no medicals or blood tests. Prices start from just £4.52 a month for £1,000 of cover.
Wow, that money could help with funeral costs or as a gift for my grandkid. I'll do it.
As the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance, we're proud to protect thousands of families across the UK. We're rated excellent by Trustpilot and also rated platinum by FIFO. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
He's going to be named after his granddad.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our UK team on 0800 781 0770 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
That couple we met made 50% less than us with Secret Escapes.
So we didn't have to rent our house out to pay for this trip?
Darling, it will be absolutely fine.
Book your luxury holidays with up to 50% off on secretescapes.com. Secret Escapes, luxury travel for less.
Just because my kids are grown up and have little ones of their own doesn't mean family life slows down. I'm busier than ever. Now that I'm in my 60s, I want to make sure that my family has enough to cover my funeral costs and other expenses when I'm no longer around. That's why I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one and you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Learning more couldn't be simpler. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call. Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either.
Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To get a free life insurance quote, call our friendly